Welcome back to a daily dose of good news. Today we're going to hear another parable from Jesus. If yesterday's was one of his most famous, today's is one of his least. Reason being, it's hard to really understand what Jesus was meaning, what he was commending. Jesus told his disciples, "There was a rich man whose manager was accused of wasting his possessions. So he called him in and asked him, 'What is this I hear about you? Give an account of your management, because you cannot be my manager any longer.' The manager said to himself, 'What shall I do now? My master is taking away my job. I'm not strong enough to dig, and I'm ashamed to beg. I know what I'll do, so that when I lose my job here, people will welcome me into their houses.' So he called in each one of his master's debtors. He asked the first, 'How much do you owe my master?' 800 gallons of olive oil,' he replied. The manager told him, 'Take your bill, sit down quickly, and make it 400. Then he asked the second, 'And how much do you owe?' 1,000 bushels of wheat,' he replied. He told him, 'Take your bill and make it 800. The master commended the dishonest manager because he had acted shrewdly. For the people of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own kind than are the people of the light. I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourselves, so that when it is gone, you will be welcomed into eternal dwellings. Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much, and whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. So if you have not been trustworthy in handling worldly wealth, who will trust you with true riches? And if you have not been trustworthy with someone else's property, who will give you property of your own? No servant can serve two masters. Either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." The Pharisees, who loved money, heard all this and were sneering at Jesus. He said to them, "You are the ones who justify yourselves in the eyes of men, but God knows your hearts. What is highly valued among men is detestable in God's sight." Have you got it sussed? All worked out? Probably not. Is Jesus teaching us to be deceitful, like the shrewd manager? Is he saying we can buy our way into heaven? Surely not. One of the overriding principles of seeking to understand what Jesus says is to make sure we read each saying, story, teaching in the light of all the rest of his teaching. We know that Jesus commands us to be children of the truth, not to lie. We know that he says that salvation is through him alone. We cannot earn it or pay for it with money. So what is he saying here? Well, I've done a fair bit of reading of what others think, and for me it comes down to this. Jesus is saying that as Christians, people of the light, we may not be as shrewd and calculating as non-Christians in this world. But our focus is an eternal one. And our wisdom and use of our finances should be directed towards that eternal goal. We should not be those who make decisions and devise strategies with the aim of building up our wealth in this world. That should not be our goal. We should instead look to bless others with what we have, knowing that our riches in eternity far outstrip anything we could achieve in this life. See you tomorrow.